Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're talking about the Xbox controversy, whatever you want to call it. Freaking catastrophe is what it is. Now, before I dig into it, I want to be clear. I didn't make one right away because I was hoping that more information would come out. And I still think that that's going to happen. Like, even though I'm now making the video, I still feel like we're going to get more news trickling in for a while. And maybe we'll get more like a year or two from now. But I don't feel like it's worth waiting for that, right? So here's the long and short of it. Xbox closes several studios. All of them under the Bethesda thing, right? We got AlphaDog, and they were another mobile developer. They made Mighty Doom, and it was kind of not good, right? It didn't sell well. It doesn't sound like it was doing very well, so it kind of makes sense. I still don't like the studio closures. I still think it's a bunch of garbage where the industry is at right now. And I'm not even a developer, but the more I get to know developers in the space, the more I talk to them, the more upset it makes me, right? Yeah, and I've talked about this before. I've been through losing a job before and the stress it takes on you and your family. And so for companies to do that to people seemingly just because really ticks me off. But you can at least kind of convince yourself as to why AlphaDog was closed down. Roundhouse Studio is the one that is absorbed because they've been helping out with Elder Scrolls Online, and that already makes sense. They're just kind of being absorbed into the company that already does that, right? Into the studio that does that. So that makes sense. However, then they closed two others. They closed Arcane Austin. Now, this is a tougher one because this is the one that made Redfall, and Redfall was terrible. Absolutely half-baked garbage. Absolute garbage. It was a terrible game. But they're also the ones that have been in place of really high-quality games. Dishonored 1 and 2 were incredible. Prey is loved by many. They make some really incredible sim. Now, to be fair, they have also bled a lot of talent. A lot of people have left that studio because they were making Redfall, right? And this was an immersive sim style studio, and to make Redfall, a lot of people left. So if you really kind of get in it, maybe you can convince yourself of, hey, really this studio is a shell of its former self. They're not making great games. They don't have the ability to make the games they were known for, so we're just going to close it. I still disagree, but you can kind of wrap your head around why they might do that. But then they closed Tango Gameworks. Now, the problem with this one, of course, Tango made The Evil Within 1 and 2. Evil Within 2 being regarded by many people as one of, if not the best, survival horror games on the market. They made Ghostwire Tokyo, and that one was kind of mediocre, right? Some people really loved it, but most people felt like it was kind of in the middle. It was like a 7, sometimes a 6, depending on how it ran on your hardware. So, okay, but then they dropped Hi-Fi Rush. Now, Hi-Fi Rush, if you haven't played it, is very Saturday morning cartoon style, incredible gameplay, sound design, everything going on the beat. The story was great. The characters are great. It was so good that it won some BAFTA awards. It was nominated for a Mini Game of the Year awards. It was a very high quality release. Personally, loved it. I didn't end up finishing it because there was like a million games at the time, but I like it so much I still plan on doing that. Really, really enjoyed the game. And they closed the studio. Now, the problem, of course, is there's so much that comes after this that just makes it worse, right? So first, you're just laying off all of these people, but Tango Gameworks was their first and only Japan-based studio. They don't have others there, and we know Phil Spencer has been working his butt off to get a foothold in Japan. So closing this one doesn't make a lot of sense. Then you have Matt Booty saying, we need smaller games to win awards. Well, you had one. That's what Hi-Fi Rush was. The problem is, one, Hi-Fi Rush took 4 years. So maybe they don't view it as a small game. Maybe it cost a little bit more. They said that it hit all of the metrics, that it surpassed all of their expectations and performed great. And then we'll get to the interview in a bit, but then we're told that, every game has its own metrics and they don't always hit them. Oh man, double speak from Xbox is really hitting right now. They close down these studios. They lose their foothold in Japan. They lose trust from a lot of developers. They lose trust from gamers. And it just doesn't make a ton of sense. You just spend big money, like $70 billion kind of big money on Activision Blizzard. And then you're going to shut down all these others. But they have constantly said that that's what the Game Pass model was for, was that little games and more creative ambitions had a place because of the Game Pass model. Well, clearly it's not working. Clearly it's not doing what they said. Now, we have, I think it was an IGN interview, they talked about it becoming Microsoft gaming instead of Xbox gaming, and that makes a lot of sense to me. And so let me kind of paint a picture for that. If Phil Spencer and Xbox have been working towards this goal, and Microsoft as a whole didn't view them but much more than a blip on the radar, right? Because compared to their $3 trillion business, Xbox is small potatoes. It's nothing. But then they spend $70 billion. Now that's no longer a little drip in the puddle, and now that's a good sized chunk, and we care about what happens there. And so now we're going to look at studios that are making money or not, and stuff that's not making money needs to get cut. Don't know, don't care about what that has in the gaming space or what that does in terms of morale or what that is. They just look at it as a cost-cutting measure. That's totally feasible. It's not guaranteed. We don't know that that's what happens, but that would make sense. That's a reasonable belief or thought, right, in this circumstance. But then Sarah Bond gets in this interview. Rough, guys. If you didn't watch it, holy cow. Ridiculous. She didn't know what she was doing. And you know what, to be fair, she kind of looked like she was thrown under the fire a little bit, but she's the president. She's the new president, so she needs to know what she's doing. But she can't answer the question. They ask, you had Tango Gameworks, who made Hi-Fi Rush, a beloved game, who won a bunch of awards and nominated for many others. Why would you close them down? And she can't even answer the question. She doesn't even pretend to. She just kind of goes off this way. It was ridiculous. You could watch the whole interview. That's available. You can go look at it. But to me, what it said is either she's completely disingenuous and you can't trust a single thing she said, which I think is kind of fair of any CEO, president of a large company. But either that or she didn't have a choice. She doesn't know. Microsoft took over and did it, and now she just has to throw out answers, but is only allowed to say certain things. Probably a mix of the two, to be honest, right? I mean, that's how these things work. We kind of see two things, but there's so much more that we don't. So it's somewhere in the middle. But the truth is, it doesn't even matter, because what happened and how it's being handled is piss poor. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's a complete dumpster fire. How can you trust Xbox? I mean, they're about to release, Hellblade 2? Anybody think that they're going to keep that studio around? Hellblade doesn't make a lot of money. It did. The first one didn't. Even it did well. It didn't make millions of dollars. It didn't. So you think the second one's gonna? They're barely marketing it. They just started, and it comes out in a week, right? It's not going to do well enough. That studio feels safe? I don't think so. If you're a developer, do you want to go work at Xbox? Heck no, right? I mean, if that's the only job you can get, maybe, but then you're going to be looking because you can't trust them. They're going to fire you. It's not just if you do a bad game, they'll fire you, but you could do a great game and they still fire you. How can you trust a company that does that when there's not even a foreseeable metric to know, hey, if I do good, I keep my job, right? That's a lot of us operate under that. If I do my job well, I keep my job, right? But if that's not even known, what are you supposed to do? Constantly afraid of losing your job? Who can work well under that kind of stress? It's absurd. And so in my view, and I think a lot of people's view right now, Xbox is stepping out of the race. I think Microsoft is seeing it now as trouble that's not bringing in enough money. I think that they're seeing the amount of spending they've been doing to buy studios. They clearly haven't figured out how to raise their own studios because they can't. Hi-Fi Rush was the first good game they've had in, 2 console generations? They still have 343, which who knows how much money they pump into them. they can't make a good game to save their life. So, even in terms of studios, why keep one and not the other? They haven't figured out how to raise a good studio, how to make your own good games. They buy companies and then close ones that did make a decent game. Some of the others I think make sense. Still sucky. And how much did they have a hand? I don't know. But essentially what this looks like is if it's not a huge blockbuster game, they're not fronting it anymore. That doesn't just damage their brand, it damages their reputation. Xbox is going to have a long way to go if they're even going to try to climb out of this. Now, here's the other thing, okay? Because they own COD and Elder Scrolls and Fallout, there will be people who will buy into those games. Those are casual markets as much as they are in the hardcore markets. And us, people who talk and work and watch videos like this, are the hardcore market. So the casual market actually fronts the majority of the revenue for these companies. Us hardcore ones, as much as we think we do, we don't make much difference. It's just the way it is. So it'll be really interesting to see the fallout of this, but I don't see how it's good. I don't see any way that Microsoft comes out of this unscathed. So we will have to keep an eye on it. I know I will be, and I'll let you guys know as anything changes or things come up. I guess because I'm still wrestling with this, and what do I do? What's my response to this? There's not much we can do, right? Xbox and Microsoft are this huge company, and we're just, a few peons down here. But I always believe it's right to vote with your wallet, to let yourself be known and heard in a right way. I don't believe in attacking developers or bombing Phil Spencer in Fallout 76. Funny. Attacking him with words, DMing him or Sarah Bond or Matt Booty and telling them how horrible they are, that you're threatening to kill them or something. Not okay. That's not okay. Don't do that. Okay? Don't do that. But putting out a tweet that says, hey, Phil, what the heck are you guys doing? This doesn't make sense. Hey, why did you guys close Tango? Hi-Fi Rush was awesome. What are you guys thinking? That's fine, right? So being respectful, right? I remember my parents teaching me when I was a kid, right? That you can raise your questions or bring your opinion as long as you can do it respectfully. And I think we kind of as a group need to hold on to that, right? Be respectful, but also be heard. Anyway, this whole thing is kind of a bummer and I hate dealing with it, but I felt like we needed to talk about it. I needed to talk about it. I need to kind of talk it out and figure out where I'm at and what I'm going to do, if anything. But I don't have much more to say on that. I think Xbox is not in a good place. And I'm concerned as to what that will do in the future. Because gaming, I think, needs to have that competition. And if Xbox falls apart and it just leaves PlayStation and Nintendo, they play their games very differently. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to do a good job. It doesn't mean they'll stop making good games. But it does make me concerned as to how that will work future-wise. Now, PC's always there. So there's always another console market. I guess you could call it that with Steam and all the handhelds that are coming out and stuff. There's lots of options. So it's not like I think the gaming market is crashing. I know people think it is. It's not. It's not. But it is in a way. It is cracking and falling apart in some ways. And because here's the difference, just real quick before I sign off. The difference is when it was crashing, the revenue of gaming studios, this is back in 1998 or whatever, that crash saw the revenue of the companies down like 90%. Right now, companies are making record profits, but they want to see that line keep moving up. So in order to do that, they have to reduce cost, right? And so that means they lay off people. It's not crashing. Their revenue's not going down. It's going up. They just want to go up more. Stupid. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up here. That's going to be it for this bummer topic. But we definitely got to watch Xbox and see what's happening. They got a showcase in June, and I'm really curious what they're going to do and if they will address any of this at all. We'll see. It might just be they leave it with that Sarah Bond interview that didn't say anything. I don't know. So anyway, guys, if you tuned in, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about this whole insane situation down below in the comments. And, you know, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button and throw me a follow, a sub, or whatever if you're new. And, yeah, hope to see you guys around soon. Till then, good hunting.